The air above Vega 9's ravaged plains shimmered with heat and war. Lieutenant Eva Serrano adjusted her scope, feeling the vibrations of distant artillery rumbling beneath the ground. Smoke curled lazily into a copper sky, and the wreckage of Terran dropships littered the landscape like broken bones. Somewhere behind her, Sergeant Malik coughed, the wet, rattling sound of a man who had inhaled too much plasma-burned air. "We're not getting reinforcements, are we?" Malik asked, voice low. Eva didn't answer immediately. Her eyes remained locked on the Dominion patrols swaggering through the ruins of Outpost Theta. 5 Zelvar officers, heavy with ceremonial armor and arrogance, strutted around the crumbling compound, weapons slung carelessly. "No," Eva said finally. "This is it." Beside her, Private Jules muttered, "They think we've run. Think we're dead." Good, Eva thought. Let them. The Dominion forces had stormed the Vega 9 colony 2 days ago, catching Terran forces mid-evacuation. Eva's unit, call sign Echo 9, had been assigned rearguard. They had been promised evac shuttles within the hour. Instead, they got orbital bombardment, and a wall of alien infantry crashing down like a tsunami. Now only 5 of them remained. 5 ghosts, hiding in shattered tunnels and broken hangars, with half-empty packs and dwindling ammunition. Eva pulled her rifle closer. The Dominion officers were laughing about something, pointing at a Terran banner they had hung upside down over the outpost's gate. One of them, a particularly large brute with golden insignias, kicked the fallen body of a Terran comms officer for sport. A pulse of cold anger steadied Eva's breathing. "Malik. Mark the tall one with the gold shoulder plates." "Confirmed," Malik said, sighting through his own gear. Jules shifted uneasily. "Orders, Lieutenant?" Eva allowed herself a thin smile. "Make them regret underestimating us." She exhaled, slow and deep. Through the scope, the world sharpened, the curve of the officer's helmet, the casual tilt of his weapon, the sneer curling on his reptilian lips. A heartbeat. A squeeze of the trigger. The rifle's recoil whispered back into her shoulder, and a split second later, the Dominion officer's head snapped backward, a blossom of violet blood misting the air. Pandemonium. The other officers screamed, ducking for cover, firing wild bursts into empty windows and shadows. The guttural sounds of their alien language crackled over their comms, frantic, disbelieving. Eva shifted positions instantly, rolling into a deeper crevice of rubble. "Move!" she barked into the squad's comms. The team peeled away in practiced silence, slipping into the maze of collapsed mining tunnels that spiderwebbed beneath the outpost. Down in the tunnels, the world became narrow and sharp-edged. Broken piping, shattered metal walls, the constant drip of condensation onto fractured stone. They moved fast, their boots whispering against debris. "We got maybe 5 minutes before they bring scanners," Malik warned. Eva nodded. "We need to reach the lower access junction. Set charges at Tunnel 4. You think they'll follow?" Jules asked. "They're Dominion," Malik said grimly. "They'll charge after us like the arrogant bastards they are." Eva slid to a halt at a fork in the tunnels. Her mind raced, maps and tactical layouts flashing in her memory. Left led to collapsed passages. Right led deeper into the old mining shafts. Right, she decided. The team followed her without question. In moments, they were setting up trip mines along choke points, motion-triggered charges rigged from salvaged grenades, and Malik's custom surprises, homemade EMP traps that would short out Dominion scanners for a precious few seconds. Over the comms, distorted shouts echoed closer. "They're coming," Malik said, his voice grim. Eva crouched behind a steel beam, peering through a crack. Through the gloom, armored figures emerged, Dominion foot soldiers first, sweeping with scanners, followed by the bigger officers, barking orders. Eva tapped Jules' shoulder. "When they hit the second tripwire, we collapse the shaft behind them." "And if they don't?" Jules whispered. Eva allowed herself a sliver of a grin. "They will." The Dominion troops advanced, careless in their superiority, barely checking corners, assuming only cowards would hide in the dark. The first tripwire snapped. The explosion ripped through the tunnel, flattening the lead soldier and throwing the others into chaos. Screams in Zalvar dialect echoed as debris rained down. A second wire snapped, and this time the charges above detonated, bringing down half the tunnel in a deafening roar. Dust choked the air. Dim emergency lights flickered, casting everything in blood-red hues. Eva gave the order. Now! Malik triggered the charges at Tunnel 4. Another blast. Another portion of the shaft collapsed, trapping the Dominion strike force between two walls of rubble, cut off from reinforcements. Targets isolated, Malik confirmed, scanning his data pad. Eva allowed herself a breath. One small victory. But the comms crackled again, new orders, this time from someone with authority. A cold voice speaking Dominion Basic. Secure the area. Capture the humans alive. Commander Threx demands it. Eva's blood iced over. Threx. A name spoken with dread among Terran troops. The Dominion's prideful executioner, known for parading human prisoners before executing them slowly. New plan, Eva said, her voice tight. We stay mobile. Hit and vanish. Make them bleed. What about evac? Jules asked. Eva met his gaze evenly. Forget evac. We turn Vega 9 into a graveyard. For the first time, Jules didn't look afraid. He just nodded. Above them, the Dominion set to work clearing the rubble, unaware that in the shadows, a handful of human ghosts were already setting up their next ambush. And in Eva's mind, one thought burned hotter than the sun-scorched sky. They think we're weak. Let them learn otherwise. The Dominion soldiers picked through the rubble like blind beasts. Eva watched them through the cracked viewport of a collapsed service tunnel, her breath slow, controlled. Above her, heavy boots crunched debris. Plasma rifles swung side to side, but they didn't know where to look. They never did. Malik crouched beside her, fingers poised over the detonator clipped to his belt. They brought scanners. New models. Smarter. Still not smart enough, Eva murmured. Across the dim corridor, Jules gave the signal, a slight tap of two fingers against his helmet. The first group had passed. Time to bleed them. Eva motioned forward. They moved like smoke, silent, precise. Malik set a jammer node on the floor, masking their presence for 30 critical seconds. Enough. Eva swung her rifle into position. Through her scope, she saw a young Dominion officer, tall and sure of himself, barking orders in clipped tones. His arrogance was a neon beacon. She centered the reticle just below his jawline. The shot cracked like a whisper. The officer staggered, clutching his throat, before dropping to his knees in a graceless heap. Confusion exploded among the ranks. Dominion troopers scrambled for cover, returning fire toward empty shadows. Plasma bolts hissed past, lighting the corridor in flickering bursts. Eva was already moving, sliding into a hidden maintenance shaft as Malik triggered a small EMP burst. The enemy scanners blinked out, plunging them into disarray. 2 minutes till they recalibrate, Malik said, voice tight. Plenty, Eva replied. They ghosted through the lower tunnels, picking their shots carefully. Never staying in one place. Never giving the enemy a clear target. Eva dropped another officer, this one trying to rally the troops, with a precise round through his eye plate. No hero speeches. No dramatic standoffs. Just clean, methodical extermination. Jules lobbed a grenade into a Dominion regroup point, the explosion sending armor and bodies flying. Nice toss, Malik grunted as they slipped deeper underground. Played baseball in another life, Jules quipped, earning a brief smirk from Eva. They moved without speaking for a time, every sense honed to survival. Even the air seemed heavier now, filled with tension so thick it vibrated against their skin. Then the Dominion adapted. The next patrols came tighter, overlapping fields of fire, drones buzzing overhead with aggressive scans. Commander Threx's tactics, brutal efficiency masked as discipline. They're changing tactics, Malik muttered. Smarter sweeps. Lockstep formations. They're scared, Eva said. Good. Fear makes people sloppy. But she knew it wouldn't last forever. The Dominion's arrogance might be wounded, but not dead. A sudden metallic click echoed ahead. Everyone froze. Trip mine. Eva spotted it tucked against the base of a column, nearly invisible. Dominion engineering, nasty, pressure sensitive. No easy way around. We can't go back, Jules whispered. Eva crouched, thinking fast. We go up. She pointed to a rusted maintenance ladder disappearing into the shadows above. One by one, they climbed, boots slipping against the grimy rungs. Eva went last, covering their ascent with her rifle. Above them was an abandoned ventilation shaft, barely wide enough to crawl through. Dust clogged the air, coating their throats and lungs. Each movement sent small showers of debris raining below. Perfect. Eva led them through the shaft, positioning them over a key Dominion rally point near the old ore processing plant. Through vents slashed open by years of neglect, she saw dozens of enemy soldiers gathered below, shouting, regrouping, arguing. And among them, an alien in crimson armor, Field Commander Crexus, second only to Threx on Vega 9. Eva's heart ticked faster. Take him out, and the Dominion's chain of command fractures. She gestured the plan, 2 covering angles, Jules setting a diversion charge on the north wall. Malik with the getaway path. Everything hinged on timing. Eva took position above the makeshift command center. The crosshairs kissed Crexus's temple. He barked orders, oblivious. Jules triggered the wall charge. A concussive blast rocked the room. Dust billowed. Soldiers stumbled. Eva fired. Crexus's head snapped back, a clean exit wound misting the air. Chaos erupted, officers screaming, soldiers firing blindly. She pulled back instantly, crawling through the shaft as enemy fire riddled the ceiling below. They'll be hunting harder now, Malik said over comms. Let them, Eva answered, voice hard. Every squad they send after us bleeds them thinner. The tunnels became their playground. Ambushes. Hit and fades. Ghost attacks that left Dominion forces paranoid and jumpy. Eva orchestrated it all, strikes at supply depots, sabotage of power nodes, decimation of command figures. The Dominion had the numbers. Eva's squad had precision. Each night, they reviewed intel stolen from fallen Dominion officers, maps, patrol patterns, supply routes. Malik and Jules adapted rapidly, becoming extensions of Eva's will. They were no longer merely surviving. They were dismantling an empire one bullet at a time. Still, exhaustion gnawed at them. Supplies dwindled. Every skirmish cost them energy they couldn't afford to waste. During a brief rest in the hollow of an old drilling station, Jules broke the silence. We keep killing their officers, but it's not stopping them. They just send more. Eva cleaned her rifle slowly, methodically. We're not trying to stop them. Jules frowned. Then what? We're sowing chaos, she said. We make them question every shadow, doubt every command, fear every step. And Threx? Malik asked, voice low. Eva's eyes gleamed in the dim light. We make sure he knows he's not hunting prey. He's walking into a grave. For a moment, the only sound was the soft scrape of metal against metal as Eva snapped her rifle back together. Outside, the Dominion forces regrouped under new, harsher orders. Inside the tunnels, humanity's ghosts prepared their next strike. The art of ghosting wasn't just surviving. It was making survival a weapon. Eva crouched at the mouth of Tunnel 17, the cold bite of worn steel against her palms. The Dominion was adapting faster now. Their patrols came tighter, their movements sharper, bait hanging on every route like poison meat. She studied the latest scene through her scope, a Dominion squad clustered around a battered group of human prisoners, miners, engineers, barely armed. Blood stained their coveralls, hands bound behind their backs. They're setting bait, Malik said, low, grim. Eva's jaw tightened. They're betting we still have a conscience. Jules shifted beside her, tension crackling off him like static. Orders, Lieutenant? Eva didn't answer right away. Strategy warred with instinct. Saving civilians risked blowing their cover, but letting them die cemented the Dominion's narrative. That humanity was weak, divided. "We strike," she said. "Fast and clean." Malik nodded once. Jules swore under his breath, but readied his weapon without hesitation. Eva mapped the battlefield in her mind, the slope of broken scaffolding, the half-collapsed overhead pipes, the old tram rails leading directly to the prisoners. 3 snipers covered the open plaza from towers above. Ground forces waited in ambush around the periphery. They weren't sloppy this time. Good. Eva was tired of sloppy enemies. "We hit the snipers first," she said, locking eyes with her team. "Then we cause chaos." Simple plan. Brutal plan. She lined up her first shot, a sniper perched lazily on a broken crane, scanning for movement. Eva squeezed the trigger. The Dominion sniper jerked sideways, tumbling silently from his perch. A half-second later, Malik's shot dropped the second spotter, and Jules took the third with a sharp, clean blast. No alarms. No warning. Eva was already moving, sprinting low along the tram rails, Malik and Jules flanking her. The ground patrols reacted a second too late. Plasma fire roared overhead, wild and scattered. Malik tossed a flash charge. The world flared white. Eva reached the prisoners first, slicing through bonds with swift precision. "Move!" she barked, shoving a dazed miner toward cover. "Stay low!" Jules laid suppressive fire, driving back Dominion troops. Malik covered the rear, precision shots punching through enemy armor. The prisoners scrambled into the ruins, coughing and shouting, but alive. A plasma bolt struck the ground near Eva's boot, showering her in molten dirt. She rolled behind a toppled generator, returning fire with cold efficiency. More Dominion forces poured into the plaza. Too many. "We're boxed," Malik growled over comms. Eva scanned the battlefield, calculating options. None were good. Not for retreat. "New plan," she said. "Hit their comms relay. Blind them." It sat atop the far wall, a slender spike of black alloy humming with signal traffic. If they couldn't call for reinforcements, they'd be deaf and blind. "Jules, grenade launcher." "Now." Jules dropped behind cover, sighted, and fired. The grenade arced high, slamming into the relay with a bone-shaking explosion. The structure shuddered, cables whipping through the air like dying snakes. Sparks rained down. Immediately, Dominion comms faltered, shouts turned to confusion, coordination collapsed. Eva seized the moment. She surged forward, targeting officers, cutting down any semblance of order. Malik and Jules mirrored her aggression, driving the Dominion into full retreat. Victory tasted bitter. As they fell back with the civilians, Eva realized something was wrong. A second force, larger and more disciplined, was advancing from the tunnels behind them, herding them toward a narrowing canyon of ruins. An ambush inside an ambush. Threx's signature move. "Fall back to secondary point Zeta," Eva ordered, voice steady. "Move." Civilians stumbled. One collapsed, clutching his leg. Without hesitation, Malik scooped him up. "They're corralling us!" Jules snapped, frustration crackling through comms. "Not if we turn first," Eva said. They darted through crumbling service corridors, Dominion pursuit hot on their heels. In the ruins of an old mining rig, Eva made her stand. "We hold here." No one questioned her. They set explosives along choke points, rigged shrapnel traps, and positioned themselves for maximum field of fire. The Dominion came hard, not reckless this time, but methodical, relentless. The first wave triggered the traps, blasts tearing through ranks, sending bodies tumbling. The second wave pressed harder, stepping over corpses without flinching. Eva's rifle sang, each shot deliberate, lethal. Malik's sidearm cracked beside her. Jules manned a salvaged plasma turret, stitching the air with searing beams. Still they came. One Dominion trooper, larger than the rest, barreled through the wreckage, heavy repeater in hand. Eva switched weapons, pulled her sidearm, and fired twice into his knees. The alien crumpled, bellowing. Tactical, not pretty. The civilians huddled behind a fortified loader, eyes wide, terrified but alive. Malik reloaded, grimacing. We're burning through ammo. Make every shot count, Eva said. The third wave stalled, uncertain. Without functional comms, without clear leadership, hesitation bred chaos. Eva felt it, the shift. No, she ordered. They surged forward, driving a wedge into the staggered enemy line, exploiting every hesitation. Eva's blade flashed as she took a Dominion officer at close range, a swift, brutal end. Jules took a hit, plasma grazing his shoulder, but shrugged it off, adrenaline carrying him forward. Malik disabled the drone midair with a single, perfect shot. Step by bloody step, they clawed their way free. Finally, the Dominion forces faltered, pulled back, regrouping behind crumbling walls. Breathing hard, Eva surveyed the battlefield. Bodies littered the ground. Smoke curled from ruptured equipment. The stench of scorched metal and blood clung to everything. They had survived. Barely. But the cost weighed heavy. Private Shaw, the youngest member of their squad, lay among the fallen, a clean shot through his chest. He had stayed behind, covering the civilians during the retreat. Eva knelt by him, pressing 2 fingers to his cooling forehead. Rest easy, soldier, she whispered. Around her, Malik and Jules began gathering supplies from the dead, salvaging weapons, ration packs, anything they could use. They had no choice. The Dominion wasn't done. Neither were they. Eva stood, her face hard. Pack up. Move out. We make them pay for every inch. Above the smoldering ruins, Vega 9's blood-red sun dipped lower, casting long, jagged shadows across the battlefield, and across the hearts of those who refused to surrender. The tunnels near Vega 9's eastern ridge reeked of rust, damp stone, and something fouler, the iron stink of recent death. Eva crouched behind a fractured pillar, scanning the maze ahead. The Dominion had pulled back after the Plaza massacre, but not out of fear. They were regrouping. Smarter. Angrier. Driven now by something personal. Commander Threx himself had entered the field. She could feel it, the subtle shift in enemy behavior. No more blundering patrols. No obvious bait. Now, every piece of terrain, every broken corridor screamed trap. Feels wrong, Malik muttered, keeping low. Sweat gleamed at his temples despite the cool air. They're leading us, Jules said, voice tight. Eva agreed. The Dominion wasn't chasing them anymore. They were hurting. We play along, Eva said, checking her rifle's magazine. But on our terms. The map flickered on her wrist pad, an abandoned mining complex 3 clicks east. A labyrinth of collapsed tunnels, rusted machinery, and forgotten shafts. Perfect ground for a final ambush. If they were the prey, she intended to make the hunters bleed for every step. The march was brutal. Slipping through shattered corridors, weaving around booby traps set by Dominion sappers, skirting sentry patrols too heavily armored to face directly. Every move cost energy they couldn't afford to waste. Jules stumbled once, catching himself on a twisted support beam. Fine, he grunted before anyone could speak. They pressed on. As the complex loomed ahead, a skeletal structure against the dying light, Eva halted. She motioned them into cover beneath a buckled conveyor belt. Beyond, Dominion squads set up checkpoints and scanners. Sharp, methodical movements. No gaps. No weak links. Except one. Eva spotted it, a collapsed ventilation shaft leading into the heart of the structure. Narrow. Crumbling. Unwatched. Too risky for Dominion troops in heavy armor. Perfect for ghosts. She tapped Malik and Jules. Entry point. Single file. Malik grimaced at the tight space but nodded. They slipped through the ruins like wraiths, silent among the bones of the dead industry. Dust coated everything. Broken equipment lay scattered like the relics of a forgotten age. Above them, Dominion patrols moved unaware. Eva led them deeper, heart steady. Every step pulled them closer to the trap she intended to set. The central processing chamber was a vast hollow, open to the scarlet sky through gaping rents in the ceiling. Catwalks crisscrossed overhead, some intact, some dangling like broken limbs. At the center stood Commander Threx. Broad-shouldered, encased in polished black armor etched with Dominion runes, Threx radiated cold authority. He spoke into a calm voice carrying across the chamber. "No prisoners this time. Kill them." Eva's stomach twisted, but not with fear. With certainty. He was here. Exposed. Surrounded by elite guards, yes, but he was here. She slipped into position along a fractured pipeline, sighting him through her scope. The shot would be difficult, multiple layers of cover, shifting guards, unpredictable movements. But it wasn't impossible. Not for her. She adjusted for wind, for angle, for the pull of Vega 9's lower gravity. A breath. A heartbeat. She fired. The round clipped Threx's shoulder, spinning him sideways. Not a kill, but a message. Chaos exploded. Guards rushed to shield him. Troopers opened fire blindly into the shadows. Orders barked. Alarms wailed. Eva ducked back just as plasma stitched the air where her head had been. "Move!" she snapped. They split up automatically. Malik laid down suppressive fire from a side shaft. Jules circled around, setting explosives along critical supports. Eva kept mobile, shifting cover to cover, never staying still long enough to be pinned. The Dominion forces surged, but without coordination. Panic leaked into their ranks. Fear. Threx, however, remained a constant, barking commands, rallying his troops with cold fury. Eva knew then, taking him down wouldn't be a shot from the shadows. Not this time. It had to be face to face. She regrouped with Malik near the lower catwalks. "He's not running," Malik panted. "He wants us to come to him." Eva reloaded calmly. "Good. Saves us the trouble." They planted explosives at critical load points. When triggered, they would collapse half the chamber, separating Threx from reinforcements. "Charge is set," Jules reported over comms. "On your signal." Eva studied the battlefield one last time. It was madness. 3 soldiers against an army. Exactly the kind of madness humanity excelled at. "Light it," she ordered. The charges detonated with a series of deafening booms. Metal shrieked as catwalks buckled and crashed. Dust engulfed the chamber. Eva sprinted forward through the smoke, Malik and Jules flanking her. Threx stood alone now, blade in hand, eyes burning beneath his helm. He pointed the blade at Eva. "Come, human!" he roared. "Face your death." She obliged. The duel was savage. Threx swung with brutal precision, every strike meant to kill outright. Eva dodged narrowly, retaliating with controlled bursts from her sidearm, forcing him to defend. Malik and Jules kept Dominion reinforcements at bay, their gunfire constant, relentless. Eva circled Threx, feinting, probing. "You think a woman can defeat me?" Threx sneered between blows. Eva smiled thinly. "I don't think. I know." She baited him into an overhand swing, heavy, telegraphed. She slid under the blow, firing 3 rounds into the weak points of his thigh armor. Threx stumbled. She pressed the attack, driving him back, shot after precise shot hammering joints, sensors, servos. He roared in frustration, swinging wildly. Eva sidestepped, ducked low, and fired point-blank into the soft join between his breastplate and helmet. Threx staggered, armor sparking. Still, he lunged. Eva met him head-on. Their bodies collided, grappling. For a breathless moment, either yielded. Then Eva twisted, using his momentum against him, slamming him into a broken support beam. She drew her knife, short and vicious, and drove it into the exposed joint beneath his chin. Threx gurgled, armor trembling, and collapsed. Eva stood over him, breathing hard. The chamber fell eerily silent as the remaining Dominion soldiers, leaderless and stunned, faltered. A soft crackle filled Eva's earpiece. "Jules. They're retreating. We broke them." Eva didn't smile. Not yet. She turned to Malik and Jules, blood smeared and exhausted, but alive. "Set charges on the way out," she said. "We're burying this place." Together they moved through the broken halls, ghosts once more. The blood and the dust would mark Vega 9 forever. But so would the ghosts who refused to fall. The air outside the mining complex shimmered with heat and smoke, the distant thunder of collapsing structures marking the end of Threx's reign. Eva led the survivors into the open, boots crunching over ash and debris. Malik limped slightly, a deep gash along his thigh, but refused help. Jules bore fresh burns across his forearms, plasma scorched through armor, yet his rifle stayed steady in his hands. The Dominion forces had fractured, splintered into scattered units fighting without purpose. Their retreat was chaotic, frantic, messy, a far cry from the precision they once flaunted. But the fight wasn't over. Eva crouched atop a rocky outcrop overlooking the battered plains beyond the ridge. She unfolded her rifle, adjusting the broken scope, aligning its cracked lens toward the main Dominion landing zone. What she saw made her chest tighten. Hundreds of enemy troops swarmed the evacuation fields, desperate to board the remaining transports. Officers screamed orders that few obeyed. Civilians, human prisoners pressed into labor, scrambled amid the chaos, some breaking away toward the wilds. Above it all, 3 heavy Dominion gunships hovered, their cannons sweeping for any signs of resistance. "They're running," Malik said, settling beside her, voice rough. "Not fast enough," Eva replied. She watched the officers through her battered scope, fat with medals, blustering with fear. Her finger rested lightly on the trigger. "Malik! Jules! Priority targets, command staff and gunship crews." "Copy that," Malik said, already sighting. Jules grinned grimly. "Let's clip some wings." Eva marked the nearest gunship, a sleek, black beast emblazoned with Dominion sigils, and traced her sights to the pilot stepping up the ramp. One shot. The pilot crumpled backward, his body slamming into the deck. The gunship's engines whined, faltered, dipped dangerously low. Malik's rifle barked next, dropping a squad leader shouting orders at a tangled mess of troops. Without direction, the Dominion soldiers broke ranks, a river of panic flooding the field. Jules' shot hammered through a gunship gunner's helmet, sending sparks and blood spraying across the cockpit. The vessel spun wildly before slamming into the ground, exploding in a thunderous bloom of fire and shrapnel. Cheers erupted from the nearby human prisoners, now emboldened, seizing abandoned weapons and striking back. Eva exhaled slowly, focusing her scope again. In the heart of the chaos, a Dominion captain rallied a pocket of soldiers, trying to mount a defense. Eva tracked him carefully, watched the way he barked, slapped, shoved. She led the shot a fraction ahead, accounting for the wind. A gentle squeeze of the trigger. The captain's head snapped back, helmet clattering to the dust. The soldiers around him froze, fear bleeding into their ranks like spilled ink. And then they broke. "They're falling apart," Jules said, awe-threading his voice. Eva kept her tone even. "Keep pressing." She worked methodically, each shot deliberate. Never rushed. Never wasted. Every officer who tried to rally was silenced. Every engineer who sprinted to the gunships was dropped. The Dominion's once glorious landing zone became a graveyard under the red sun. From the corner of her eye, Eva caught movement, a cluster of Dominion elites rallying behind a heavy shield barrier, trying to mount a desperate counterattack toward the human escapees. Eva shifted, recalibrated. "We need a collapse," she said. "Target the support struts." Malik understood instantly. They located the thin steel framework that once held communications towers above the field, now battered but still standing tall enough to crush anything beneath it. Eva sighted the weakest junction. "One shot." Malik nodded grimly. Eva's breath slowed. The world narrowed to the scope, the barrel, the trembling line of the steel. She fired. The support beam groaned, twisted, then snapped. The tower fell in a screaming arc of shrieking metal, smashing into the Dominion formation like a hammer from the heavens. Dust geysered skyward. Bodies vanished beneath tons of steel and stone. When the air cleared, no counterattack remained. Malik lowered his rifle. "That did it." Jules wiped blood and grime from his brow. "They're finished." Eva didn't relax. "Not yet," Through the battered scope, she scanned the battlefield. Dominion soldiers dropped their weapons, hands raised in surrender. Some fled into the wilds, pursued by angry mobs of newly armed prisoners. The 3 remaining gunships lifted off, but not to fight, to flee. Their engines roared, rising into Vega 9's blood-red sky, leaving behind the broken remnants of an invasion force that had once promised domination. Eva let her rifle hang loosely at her side. It was over. They descended from the ridge slowly, weapons still raised, boots crunching over scorched ground. Survivors clustered in groups, some weeping, some staring blankly at the devastation. When they saw Eva's squad, battered, bloodied, unbowed, a ripple spread through them. Whispers became cheers. Cheers became roars. Eva said nothing. She simply raised her rifle once, silently. Acknowledgement. Not victory speeches. Not grand declarations. Just survival. Earned. Paid for in blood. Malik clapped a hand on her shoulder. Jules offered a tired, crooked smile. We did it, Malik said, wonder in his voice. Eva finally allowed herself a small smile. We made them bleed. The Terran Accord forces would return, now that the Dominion grip had shattered. Reconstruction would take years. Scars would remain longer. But Vega 9 was still human. And its defenders had proven something far more important than strength. They had proven will. Later, when reports reached Earth, stories spread like wildfire. Of the ghosts of Vega 9. Of the sniper who turned arrogance into graves. Of a handful of soldiers who refused to fall. Eva read none of them. She was already preparing for the next fight. Because wars end, but warriors endure. And she would be there, through the dust, through the blood, through the scope, wherever humanity needed someone to remind the galaxy. We are not easy prey.